Let's talk about async and await. So we have seen the promise in which it returns as a successful operation or with a value or maybe any rejection with a reason. But while dealing with multiple promises and everything, if you want to go your code synchronously, so we can use async and await in a great combination to do that. So let's say there are two async operation and you want to wait for each other. So we can write it by using async and await keyword very well. Let's try with a quick example. So we firstly need two promises here so that we can create two asynchronous operation. Then we'll try to introduce async and await to get executed this both one after another. So here I'm just trying to create a function with the name called work1, which don't have any input, and it is directly going to return a promise, because we want to keep this as an asynchronous behavior. And we know this will have two parameters. One is the resolve one and second is the reject one. And here inside this promise, yeah, it should be a function. So inside this promise, I want to perform some action which will take 2 seconds of time to get execute. So I'll say set timeout will take 2 seconds of time, and here I'll say resolve work one completed. Let's closely understand what's happening here. So the work one function is clearly returning a promise. Right now, what exactly returning inside the promise? Don't worry about that. Get a confirmation we are returning a promise. That's perfect. Let's try to understand the next thing. Our promise says that my action will take 2 seconds of time, and at the end of the 2 seconds, I'll give you the successful result, successful operation out of this particular promise by using a resolve, and my value will be work one completed as a string. That's perfect. If I want to call this operation, what I'll do, I'll say work one like this. I need to call it like a function because this content should get executed. Perfect. So now we are executing our promise and the certain things will get run accordingly. We also need to write like then, so that we should have a positive block to get the contents out of it. So let me just console the response. So we are calling a promise here, then our promise will return something after the 2 seconds that I'll receive here, and I'm consoling it. Let's see it on the screen. Let's wait for 2 seconds. Yes, it's working perfectly. Now in the similar fashion, let's try to create second one, work 2. And this will get executed just within 1 second. And here let me say work 2 completed. The same way I'm doing for work 1, let's do for the work 2 here. And now let's see the results. Of course, the work 2 is getting completed earlier because it takes only 1 second, and the work 1 is getting completed because, later because it's taking 2 seconds of time. So what's the behavior we should understand here? The execution for the work 1 started, and immediately after that the work 2 execution started here as per the sequential execution pattern. Because these are the asynchronous operation, a separate thread is taking care to perform the certain functionality. Our main program thread will not wait for that. So again, work 2 also started, and after that, our program main thread is ending, and one thread is working on this promise here, and second thread is working on this promise. There are two threads at the end after the end of the main thread. So let me just also write here main thread ends here. So you can see before the work 1 and work 2 completed, the main thread will get completed. Yes, because it just starting the work 1 and work 2, it doesn't care it is getting completed or not, because work 1 and 2 are asynchronous operation. That's perfect. Let's move to the next point. So next point is we want to get execute work 1 and then only we want to get the work 2 executed. This is what I need. So what I'm going to do, I'll create a function separate. For example, get all work done. Again, I'll not give any inputs. I'll keep all this code inside this function. And here I'll say get all work done. So let's closely observe this. What's happening here? We are calling get work all done. Then it is taking care of the work one and work to execution and respectively printing its output whenever the works are getting completed with a successful message. Again, there is a problem like work 2 will get earlier executed completed than work 1, but we need a sequential one. So we need to get wait our promise 1. We need to wait our at this particular line number 18 till the time the promise work 1 will get complete, and we should not proceed with further execution of line number 21 with work 2. So on this particular line, I want to pause the execution of the thread. So initially what's happening here? The execution is started for work 1. It doesn't matter it's completed or not. It just start the execution, and whenever it will get completed, it is executing its positive block. But it will not wait for that. It will just kickstart it and let's move to the next one. Let's kickstart it. Let's move to the next one. So after 2 seconds, this is getting executed. After 1 second, this is getting executed. That is their respective responsibility. But if you want to wait your main thread for that. So what you can do, you can just write a statement here. You can write a keyword called await. Await is saying that I am responsible not only to call the work one, I am also responsible till the time your promise is get settled. What I mean by settled, either successful or the fail. I am going to wait here itself. I'll not proceed for the next line of execution. Same here also will say the same thing till the time the work to promise is being settled, either with a positive result or with a failure reason. I'm going to wait here itself. And we are getting a message error here. What it is saying? The await expression are only allowed within the async functions and at the top level of the modules. So it is saying that we are writing a normal function. What is this function? This is a normal function. It's a synchronized function which executes one by one line. But the behavior of this function we have changed. We are asking to wait this function here. We are asking this function to wait here also. So this is not a normal synchronized function anymore. It's an asynchronous operation. It's an asynchronous function. And that's the reason we need to specify here. It's an asynchronous function. Because again, whoever calling this function later onwards, if they have some other functionality, they should again write await when calling this functionality. Let's see now how our code works. So right now, the work one should get completed and then only the work two should start or end. Yes, the work one is getting completed, then the work two, and you can check here. This is just getting within 1 second and this is getting 2 seconds. So after completing the 2 seconds only, it is starting the work two, then it is waiting for 1 second and then it is completing the work two. Let's see it again. One, two, one. So it's 2 seconds taking time, it's taking 1 second time. So I told you await waits for the settlement of the promise. But here we have written only positive side of our promise. Let's also say there is a possibility of error in our work one function. So what happens? So we need to write a catch block. So inside the catch block, let me write an error here, a small arrow function where I'm going to console dot error and I'm going to display what is the error I'm receiving in the work one settlement. And here instead of resolve, I'll say reject work one failed. So now here await is waiting for the settlement of work one. So the work one is failing till the time it was getting success and this message was we were able to see on the screen, and then the work two was starting. But in this case, the work one is failing and we should get a catch, but we need to understand what's the behavior of await in this case. So one, two, failed one. So are you getting? The await operation doesn't even care with a positive or the failed result out of your promise. It is just taking care that your promise should get complete. Either you do it successfully or you fail in doing that. The final settlement should happen for your promise. So this is how async and await works with promise with a great combination, and we can build the complex functionalities very well. In the similar fashion, we can also use the fetch. So we have seen like a fetch function is available, which returns a promise. So we can just get a data from some dummy URL here, for example. So you're just trying to call some data. So it's a promise. And later, here, for example, you are trying to display something on HTML page. So if you're not doing and using async and await operation here, what will happen? You're trying to fetch some data. Without getting that data itself, your next lines of will get executed. But let's imagine the line number 34, which is helpful to display the information on the HTML page, is depend on the data that you're taking on the line number 33. But it's an asynchronous operation which will take some time. So that's the reason in this case we need to mention here await in this way. Of course, this will not work because we need to again club it like a function. We need to specify it's an await, then we need to async here, then we need to write await, and we need to write fetch and get the required data from the database or the respective backend server. And later at this particular point, you can display your data on the screen. If you want to do that, let me just do a quick dummy implementation. Let's say, for example, print data on screen. So it's a function and it will be a async function in this case. It's a body. Then we need to write await fetch dummy URL. Need to write a respective then block to take care and get the data from the response. So here you are ready with your data now. And now you can write some functionality here, display data on HTML page. So it was very helpful in this case. So that's the reason if you use async and await with promises, you can create a sequential execution even if you're using asynchronous functions. So this is how async and await works in detail.